Hey folks, how you doing? Okay, I'm talking about the Narmer Palette. Okay, it's a very ancient piece with some carvings on it. About 7,000 years old. Okay, Narmer was about, they say, was the first pharaoh of the Kemites, the ancient Egyptians. Well, it goes back a long ways. They say he was the first pharaoh. Okay, there was a what they call a pre-dynastic period also. A period, preceding the so-called period or dynastic period or period of the pharaohs. Okay, but there was a lot going on before that, the period of the pharaohs, as it has come down to us. Okay, so we have the Narmer Palette. Narmer Palette. It's a mystical piece. It speaks of mysticism. Okay. So at the top, we see two cows' heads. This is the goddess Hether, the two Hethers. The cows represents abundance, plenty. Okay, so this is what the two Hether goddesses represent. But if we look at those figures carefully, we'll see their eyes, you see, but we don't see any eyeballs. Well, because they're not seeing out of these two eyes. Because they're representing here a trance state. And trance. So this is where the idea of abundance come into. You got the cow to represent the abundance. Thus, in trance state, things become abundant to us. We can see many, many things. And we can go to many, many different levels of consciousness. You see? So you can say, well, each trance state represents another level of consciousness. Okay? And there are many levels of consciousness. In fact, there's an infinity of levels of consciousness. They don't end. Okay? Now, below this, on this figure, below the two cows' heads, or the two Hethers, there is a beast. Okay? And this beast has a long neck, like a giraffe, a long neck. And these necks sort of intertwine in two places. Okay? But they don't complete the third entwinement, because they're held back by two figures, like human figures, with a rope tied to the necks of these beasts, and it holds them back. You know what I mean? But they're not going to attack each other. That might be the implication, but no. It's the sign of infinity. These necks represent, as they're entwined, represent the sign of infinity, or the 8. Number 8. So number 8 then, okay, in mythology represents infinity. Okay? But what supports infinity? It's the bestial nature within the human. So these two long necks connect with the body of the beast, these two animals. Of course, they got bodies, right? These bodies represent the animal nature that underlies infinity within the human. So, in the Christian tradition, the Christ says, the way to the Father is through me. Talking about the physical body. Okay? And so that's what these beasts represent. Now, of course, infinity represents the Father. Okay? So all these things come together, The mythology, religion is mythology, so of course they're closely related, okay? And so we see now, that we have infinity, we have the two Hethers in trance. And now, by the way, they say that the Hether goddesses helps men into heaven. They do things to help men into heaven, hence trance states, okay, and abundance therein, or thereof, okay. Then also, we have in some of these palettes, there's more than one, and there's two sides to them, of course. But anyway, sometimes you see the king clobbering the other fellow over the head, and the other fellow's going like this, you know. And so, what does this mean? This means that the king is attacking not some individual, but unfavorable forces within. That's what the king is. That's what this scenes mean. This is what this scene means. Okay, attacking unfavorable forces within with the white mace, which indicates spiritual power accumulated within here the Pharaoh, and as the Pharaoh destroys his enemies by hitting them in the head with this, what they call the white mace. Okay. All right. And so, too, again, on Narmer's palette, we see people being the so-called bad guys, the unfavorable force within, being trampled or something. You know what I mean? It shows that they're being defeated. You know what I mean? But how come? Where does this power to defeat these creatures come from? Okay. Well, the sign of infinity, one, because it's equal to the sign of the Father. Then we got the Hether goddesses that takes us into a state of trance. You know what I mean? And where we're here, we encounter many different levels of consciousness according to our choosing, our choice. You know what I mean? And so, yeah, this is what this sign is telling us. It's very old. And this tells us that the Kemites, even before the dynastic period or the period of pharaohs, were well deep into the mystical arrangements. Okay, and we see these on the temple walls. We see them on the walls of the tombs of some of the important folks. Okay, like the princes and the powerful folks of the Kemite system. Okay, so again, we see that these signs and symbols, etc., we see on the walls are telling us something about ourselves, telling us how we can experience even infinity in this life through our animal nature, which we have to sort of overcome. And the power that supported the unfavorable forces, like some bad personality traits, well, this energy, okay, we take, and this energy rises up, okay, and we send it all up to our brain. Now, through breathing exercises, etc. You know, but we have to put these animal forces to work, okay, and so we can experience infinity in this life. But folks, that's what it's all about. That's what these signs and symbols are about. They're about infinity, eternal life, you know. And not only that, being successful in this life. Abundance of states of consciousness, you see, will lead us to success in this life. Get into the mythology. Get into the mysticism. Okay, folks. Be back with you.